Okay, we got cut off there a little bit at the end. It was the end of 15-minute slots that they give us for those videos. So I just want to finish up with a few things. What I was saying there at the conclusion, here's really the most important part about it. It seems like a lot of information, a lot of material, a lot to get through. A great deal of this you're not going to even have to use. You just have to know how to find the information that you are to cite your sources that you are using quickly and efficiently, and to follow the directions in the book. You have heard me say follow directions before, about 1,000 times since the beginning of the semester. Relax. When you have an item that you want to look up, look in the table of contents, find the item in the table of contents, turn to that page, and look for the examples that are used as well as the illustration of how to cite that source. Once you've done that, after you've practiced a few times, after you do this a few times, it'll start to make sense. The logical order of things will be normal. You'll think, okay, author's got to go first, then the title information. All of those things will happen slowly as you cite sources over time. The key when you start your research, as you're beginning to do research, looking at scholarly work, in particular if you're on NC Live, which I recommend, then you need to keep track of information while you're doing your research. You don't want to wait until 3 or 4 weeks from now and then try to figure out where you cited that source and where it came from and try to find the information later. Write it down on a notepad, put it in the notes on your computer someplace, somewhere where you can get to it so you have the information. Don't worry about organizing it. Don't worry about where it goes in the works cited page just yet, but get the information down on a piece of paper. Who's the author? What kind of item is it? Where did you find it? What's the URL? Copy and paste that information somewhere so that when you're ready to cite the source, you've got all the info you need and you can go back and cite it. Now that brings us up to the first short assignment. I'm going to post this with this video. You will with these two videos. This short assignment will be 3 items. I'm going to give you a bunch of information about what kind of source they are, all the information that you need to cite it, and some extra stuff that you don't need, the kinds of things you would typically come across if you're doing research. I want you to use your MLA handbook, go to the book, look up the type of source, and cite the source, and then submit that document for a grade. I'll post the due date. All of that stuff will be on there, and an explanation sheet and an example on the sheet so you can see a physical example printed out for you, and then the due date when that will need to be submitted. What this does is it forces you to use the MLA handbook to make the attempt to cite some sources and see where you have questions and what might not be clear. So listen to the video, mark it a couple of places. If there's something you need to come back to, look at the time sequence of where I cover certain things that might be helpful to you. I tried to keep this to 15 or 20 minutes, so it's certainly manageable. But then do the assignment after you feel you've got a good grasp on how the book lays out the information, and take your time with it. It's not going to be due where it's timed and you have to do it in 30 minutes or something like that. You've got plenty of time to work on it and come back to it. And then if you have questions, post those questions to me by email. Here's an important point though. Do not pose a question like, Mr. Moss, I don't know how to do number 2. If you have made the attempt to cite the sources and you have a question about something, I will answer it for you, but I will not give you the answer, obviously, to the assignment. So keep that in mind. I'm going to grade leniently on these first ones, obviously, because this is new material. And in a subsequent video, I'm going to talk about how then to cite these sources in your paper. So if you have questions about that, hold off on those now. But you have to take the information that we're gleaning on the works cited page, and how do I put that in the paper itself after I have a quote or a paraphrase. But we'll get to all of that. Hang tight, relax. We'll get through all of it, and it'll make sense as you practice some. So you'll be fine.